The Philadelphia 76ers were the worst team in the NBA for years in the early 2010s. They were doing this on purpose as they were trading away all their assets and trying to tank so they could get good draft picks and hopefully get superstars to build around. They called it the process, and it worked pretty well. They got Ben Simmons, they got Joel Embiid. They ended up getting Markelle Fultz even though they traded him. They had a lot of high picks. Jahlil Okafor was the third pick. I believe Nerlens Noel was the fourth pick. They had a lot of high draft selections, and it worked out because they got 2 stars. I'd say it was about 4 years ago that it changed from the process to trust the process, as Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were ready to take over the NBA, and we saw them as a young and upcoming team and eventual title contender. But people only see your team as young and fun for so long, as after the losses start to pile up, and this is the 3rd year in a row they haven't made the conference finals in the East, people start expecting stuff, and they want them to make the conference finals or even the finals. And so we really need to start seeing more out of this team. Now, this team has changed a lot over the years, as they had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick. 2 years ago, they're gone. Then they got Al Horford last year. That was a disaster. And ever since Al Horford left, there's been one player that's shined more than anyone, and that's Tobias Harris. Al Horford was taking up space for Tobias Harris, but Tobias Harris honestly could be their second best player right now. He's not their second best player, he's the third, but he's almost playing better than Ben Simmons. That's good, how good he's been. Hey, and real quick, y'all, if you don't mind, if you can just like and subscribe, I definitely appreciate it. It helps out the channel a lot more than you think it will. I appreciate all of you who do that, but anyways, I really need to tell you how good Tobias Harris has been. He's averaging about 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal on the block, while being in the 50-40-90 club. And now, yes, I know it's early in the season and things can change, but I think the switch up has been amazing for him. And 2 things. One, it's that, Al Horford's gone, so it opens up the floor for him, because he was having to play some small forward, or he wasn't getting as many minutes power forward as he wanted to, and that's just not his game. He's way better at power forward, where he have a slower defender on him, he can space out the floor more. I just like him better from that position. Not to mention the coaching switch up. I don't really know too much. I don't watch Sixers all the time, so I don't know how much he affected the game for him. But, sometimes you get a new coach in there, some new coaching schemes. Doc Rivers coached Tobias Harris back in LA, and that's when he was really good. So maybe there's a good pair, the plays Doc runs and Tobias Harris' skill set, if works good. I mean, last year he was pretty much just a catch and shoot player, and I didn't like that about him. Now, of course, he can catch and shoot, but he's been creating his own shot, and he's honestly the best shot creator on this team besides Seth Curry. Now, this guy has also been amazing. He's what they needed since they lost JJ Redick. Although they only went 1 season without him, they needed a shooting guard like him. Now, he honestly might be a better shooter than JJ Redick, and that's crazy to say, but we know how good the Currys are at shooting. And, last year he shot like 47% from 3, or whatever. It was like maybe 45, but it was at least in the mid-40s. This year, although, again, small sample size, he's shooting 54% from deep and with 15 points per game. Like, they're giving him the green light, and he's letting that bitch fly. And he's making them, too. Now, at the small forward position, they got Danny Green. Nothing too exciting, but I think his three-point percentage will come up. He's only averaging like 6 points per game, but he's a really good defender. And like I said, I think his three-pointers come up. I can see him averaging like 10 points per game by the end of the season. Now, let's talk about Joel Embiid. He is trying to take that spot back as the best center in the league. I think he's still the best center in the league, but a lot of people wrote him off last year just because he and the Sixers themselves didn't play as good, and they kind of put Nikola Jokic as the #1 spot. And he's been a monster so far this season, and he's trying to take that title back. I'm telling you, he's averaging, 23 points per game, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. But he's just been put up some really dominant performances so far. And, Joel Embiid's going to be Joel Embiid, top center in the league, man. But Ben Simmons. Now, all right, he's been good. I can't say he's been bad. 13 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. You can't complain with that. But I just know Ben Simmons could be more. He just needs to develop an offensive arsenal, because right now he does not have one. The only thing he really has is just layups, and he kind of has that little running hook shot he does. he hit 1 3 this season, but he doesn't have a jump shot. I mean, if he had a reliable jump shot that he was confident in, he would shoot it all the time. He barely shoots mid-rangers. I just need to see more of an offensive game from him. Not just be too critical of him. I just expect more out of him, you know? But regardless, I really like the makeup of the starting lineup of this team. And not to mention that, you know, they have Dwight Howard, Shake Milton, Tyrese Maxey, and Matisse Thybulle. All those guys are really good bench players, and they can all play some defense, honestly, especially Thybulle and Dwight. I really like the versatility of the Sixers team, man. Now, if I wanted to, I can talk about the 76ers all day and their team and their players and all that. But let's talk about if they can really beat the top dogs in the East. Can they really beat the best teams? Well, let's talk about it. So, can they beat the Boston Celtics? You know, that's one of the better teams in the league. In terms of the center matchup, you know, Celtics never really have a great center, so they already win that right there. But in terms of perimeter shots, I mean, we're talking about a team that has Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, who are all really, really good three-point shooters. And creators at that. They're not just catch-and-shoot shooters. They can create their own shot from three. And then you compare that with the Sixers, who, you know, they got Ben Simmons. He isn't shooting a three. So you're relying on Seth Curry, Danny Green, and Tobias Harris. Now, Seth Curry's a really good shooter, and Tobias Harris, he has his nights, but he's been over 40% this year. But, you know, Danny Green I wouldn't count on too much. But they're not as good of shot creators as the three Celtics right there. And now, yes, Joel can shoot, but so can Tice, so that kind of evens out. And I think the Celtics just have a lot more three-point shooting, and although the Sixers are a really good defensive team, so are the Celtics, and it's going to be hard to really put together a good enough offense to get over the Celtics. And that's really been their Achilles heel all this years. And then if we move to the Milwaukee Bucks, well, they have Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. And if I'm being honest with you, I just like the Bucks' big three a lot better than the 76ers' big three. I mean, in terms of the best player, Giannis is way better than Joel Embiid. No matter how much I like Joel Embiid, he's still way better. And then Ben Simmons, they have a better second option, of course, because I would say Chris Middleton's probably their second best player. But is Chris Middleton too far off from Ben Simmons? I mean, they're both good defenders, even though Ben Simmons is a great defender. But Chris Middleton is just such a better offensive player than Ben Simmons. Like, he's a lot better. So at that point, you're like, you know, maybe instead of Ben Simmons being like a top 20 player, Chris Middleton's like a top 25, but it's not that much of a difference. But Drew Holiday, you know, you're taking him every day of the week over Tobias Harris. I'm sorry. And then the Bucks are just so deep, even though the Sixers are deep too. I feel like the Bucks just have more pieces. I mean, they even have Brook Lopez and Dante DiVincenzo, so it's like, what you gonna do? And if we go into the current Eastern Conference champions, the Miami Heat, I mean, they have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and they're deep with Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and a lot others like Avery Bradley. They have Precious Achiuwa, who's been a really good rookie. I mean, they just have depth, man, and they have one of the best coaches in the league. And can they even beat them? Like, Bam Adebayo seems kind of like the center that could lock Joel up. You know, he's just kind of got that build. He locked Giannis up, so he's got that. Jimmy Butler's just got that winning mentality, and then they got plenty of shooters around them. And even though the Sixers are looking really good at 6-1, I was looking across the league, and it's just going to be so hard for them to get past some of these top teams. Even the Pacers, like, I'm not saying the Pacers will beat them, but as deep as and good as all their players are looking, they would give them a fight. So I don't know. Should they pull a trade for James Harden with Ben Simmons? That is honestly a huge question. And I didn't want to say this because I wanted to see how Ben Simmons come out and look in the season. But now looking at him, he just has not progressed as an offensive player one bit since he came in the league. He is the same as a rookie season like 3 or 4 years ago. And I just can't wait anymore if I'm a 76ers fan, man. If I was a 76ers fan, I could not wait any longer on his offense to develop, and I would want to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. I'm not sure who you'd have to trade all in the package, but think about this team, man. If you could just keep your whole starting lineup, I mean, you might have to move maybe Danny Green or someone to make contracts match. But if you had James Harden, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, I think that's honestly a better team than Ben Simmons, because your offense would be unstoppable at that point. And I still like the defense with that starting lineup, honestly. So, something for the Sixers to think about. So, to answer the question once and for all, do I think the 76ers can win the championship this year or be a title contender? I think they can be a dark horse contender. They can be like a phony contender. I don't think they're going to be the real deal. Like, they will probably have the 2 or 3 seed. Just the way they're playing the regular season, I could see them getting the 2 or 3 seed. But when the playoffs come around, I think I know what's going to happen. They're going to beat their first round matchup, but then they're going to meet either the Boston Celtics, they're going to meet the Milwaukee Bucks, they're going to meet the Miami Heat. Hell, maybe even the Indiana Pacers could all beat them, honestly. I'm starting to jump on the train of Ben Simmons and Joel doesn't work that well together. The only reason I never jumped on it is because I always thought Ben Simmons, like I said, would improve offensively. But if Ben Simmons can't have an offensive game, there's no Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons game. It doesn't work. I'm sorry, y'all, but the Sixers are not title contenders. I mean, it's definitely fun to speculate, and I think they'd be a fun team to watch and one of the best teams in the league. It's just when I think push comes to shove, there's a different level to championship teams and where the Sixers are. And the Sixers are one step below that. If, like I said, they can make some crazy trade. We'll see what happens, man. But I honestly don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on anything crazy. Unless, of course, they do pull off that James Harden trade. Now, if y'all like the video, please hit that like button, subscribe button. Like I said, it helps out a lot. But that's all I got for time for y'all today. Peace out, y'all.